Hello everyone. Now Wargaming has recently announced that they will be releasing a couple of the new ships and what currencies they're going to be releasing them in. The Azuma, that has been moved to tier 9, will actually be free XP. The Yoshino, that will replace what the old Azuma basically was at tier 10, that's apparently going to be a coal ship. But most surprisingly is that the Neustrashimy, the upcoming tier 9 Soviet destroyer, is actually going to be sold for steel. So this is going to be a tier 9 steel destroyer that it's sold for. Now, the Neustrashimy, apparently this means fearless in Russian, and it's actually a very fitting name for this ship, because this ship was very recently significantly buffed before it was given out to us CCs yesterday. Now, first thing you might notice that my concealment is actually very good at 5.6 km. This is of course with a full concealment build, the concealment module, concealment expert, and the camo, and I'm pushing very aggressively. You note how aggressively I'm actually pushing into the cap? That's because I want to pick a fight. If there's a DD entering this cap, I want to be able to spot them and I want to be trading with them. Now you might be thinking, wait, you're trading with a Kitagaze? Okay, those guns don't look that fast. In fact, this is with a full gunboat build. This is running the 3 million gun reload and this is running BFT. This is the full gunboat build. And the DPM doesn't exactly seem that impressive, does it? In fact, I'm taking a lot of damage here. Then again, the Kitagaze is taking a lot of punishment as well. So, maybe? No, we're actually not doing too much. My team is doing the most. I did maybe 10k damage, but then look at my heal. Look at that heal. Bottom left. Look at the amount of health I'm regenerating. Yep. That's the new thing about the Neustrashimy. They gave it the Royal Navy Cruiser heal, which means that you heal 2% per second for 20 seconds. So the default heal is 40%. And then you add in, of course, the healing flag, and you can buff that up to, what, 48%, I think, total of your health that's being regenerated. So this obviously means that when it comes to survivability, this thing is absolutely insane now, hence why I call it the zombie Neustrashimy, the zombie destroyer, and why the name Neustrashimy is extremely fitting. Now the DPM it has is not impressive. This is with a full gunboat build, and if it had been a 1 versus 1 against the Kitagaze, I did 10k to him. The damage I took in return was something like 15k, so he obviously outtrades us very heavily. But when you have this heal, you're not really looking to get the best trades, like right off the bat. What you want to do is you want to take these long extended fights where you trade, and then you disengage and heal, and then you come back and trade. And not every destroyer can heal. The Kitagaze, for example, which is probably pretty damn overpowered. Man, they really are torping me here. This thing is not too agile. I think its turning circle was something like 700 meters, and it's not the quickest to accelerate or to slow down. But I knew where the torps were coming from, so that's why I was angled that way. I expect that Aaa just torped my smoke, so I'm going to turn to angle that way as well. And you note that I'm still playing quite aggressive, even without the smoke, and that's because my heal is up again, so I know if it comes down to a trade type of fight, I will be able to regen a lot. My prediction is correct. The Aaa also dropped torps into the smoke, but we are already angled against them, so we torpedo beat a bit more. There might even be more torps coming in from the right, in case the Udaloy launched his second set. But so far, it looks pretty good, and we're actually going to secure this camp. Now, potential damage 500,000, actual damage dealt 18k. Half was to DD, the other half was to the Aaa giving us broadside. The torps are 10 km, they do 65 knots, so fairly fast, and the damage is pretty good. So in terms of torpedo damage, it's actually pretty good. In fact, later on I have been building this ship more torpedo focused than gunboat focused, because ultimately, well, you look at this dispersion on these guns, and this is something that has tilted me quite hard with this ship, is that it's supposed to have basically DD dispersion, but the fact that you only have these 4 guns, and because they have such a long reload, makes it feel that even the slightest bit of off dispersion gimps your damage significantly. it's not true compared to another DD, but it's just that your reload and the amount of shells you throw out is so low for a DD that it makes it feel much worse than it is. One of the suggestions I had for the Neustrashimy before this version was give it some improved dispersion. That would be my best way of, in my opinion, of buffing the ship, is that you buff the dispersion and make it better at fighting other ships that way. Wargaming did not take that choice, instead they went for this heal gimmick basically. So now you kind of have to adapt your playstyle. And of course the best way to do it is by picking these long fights. When you fight another DD, you want to fight until he smokes up, and then you smoke up yourself so no one else can shoot you. But as long as you can evenly shoot at the DD while he's shooting at you, you are kind of winning the trade. Simply because you'll be able to recover so much of the health and he will not. How much health can you actually tank in this thing? Well, I've been able to tank well over 50,000 damage. 50,000 damage in a destroyer. In fact, I think I hit something like 51.5k has been the most common number I've been seeing when you have these games that you really kind of push the heal to the limit. It might be possible to get more out of it, especially if you get very fortunate with the type of damage you take. You got to remember that penetration damage, you only heal half of that. You only heal 50% of full pens, whereas things like fires and flooding, you heal 100%. So if you wanted to get the full maximum value out of the Neustrashimy heal, you would have to basically burn down. But when you only have 24k health, this is with Ovechkin. When you only have that little health, it's almost impossible to get the perfect full value out of this heal. Still, 50k for a destroyer is nothing to scoff at, especially when it has 5.6 chem concealment and it can still run around torping. This torpedo power is actually why I have started building the ship much more into torpedoes lately. I tried to make the gunboat build work, and it was okay, don't get me wrong. It did work out quite well, but ultimately, even when I was playing the gunboat build, the most damage I got was out of my torpedoes, not really the guns. The guns were great when you got to fight other DDs, but I noted that the ship kind of struggled if enemy DDs wouldn't give you duels. Because that's what you want to do when you're running this zombie destroyer, especially with the gunboat build. You want to pick gunfights with other destroyers. You want to force them into this duel that you will outlast them in. But I had issues in games where the enemy DD wouldn't fight me. The enemy DD just wouldn't give me the opportunity. They played super safe, they disengaged instantly, they never gave me that long fight. Usually when you face Kitakazes or Deerings or Gearings or whatever, they want to take the fight because they're so confident in their own damage. They want to trade with you. But when I played against safe players, especially Shimakazes, that just refused to pick any fight with me, instantly smoked up, instantly disengaged, I struggled to make use of this heal. I struggled to really have an impact, and that's why I've been switching more to the torpedo build, because it's easy. You can still trade quite well. I mean, your reload will be worse because you're missing that full reload and the DD reload, but you're still able to do a lot. The fire chance is it's okay. I mean, I got pretty lucky getting that double fire on this guy. The DD shows up and he's picking a fight. I'm obviously quite interested. I'm not in a hurry to smoke up yet, unless this guy's gonna park in the Fiji smoke. And it looks like, is that his plan? No, he is popping up, so we're gonna continue taking this fight. Actually, if he leaves the smoke entirely, then my guy just use the Fiji spotting, and I'll just take a beneficial fight. Note that I'm not using my heal. AR is of course fantastic on a ship like this. AR is of course absolutely worth its weight in gold on a ship like this, because your health is gonna bounce up and down so much, it's gonna yo-yo back and forth, and every time it goes low you'll get all the AR benefits, which include of course faster reload on both guns and torpedoes. So AR is bread and butter on this build. Another thing that is practically necessary on this build is Superintendent. Now, when the game started, you might have noted that I only had 3 heals, 3 smokes, and that's running both the premium consumable and running Superintendent. If you run this default stock consumables, you have 1. You literally have 1 of each. You have 1 heal, you have 1 smoke, I think you have 1 speed boost. So you don't really have a lot going for you with the consumables. So premium consumables and Superintendent are practically mandatory for this destroyer as well. And considering you prefer taking these long protracted fights, and you you're not really a small agile DD, you're pretty damn massive, then Last Stand is, like on most DDs, highly recommended. The defensive AA is okay, the AA is okay, it's not going to win any prizes, but you can defend yourself somewhat decently against carriers. If carriers, of course, spam rocket planes at you, they will eventually kill you. You're a pretty big destroyer as well, so good carriers might hit you quite well with bombs as well, especially if you make the mistake of letting them drop along your ship instead of turning into the bombers if you don't have a choice. So vulnerable to carriers, yes, but you do have 5 defensive AIs, so you can make it work. Aggressively pushing this Udaloy, of course, because I know he's quite low on health. And there he is. This should be a quick, easy kill. And he is dead, and now we can go into the cap. The Fiji is obviously in the cap. I don't have too much health, about around 8k, but I do have a heal ready. And you can already see how much I'm able to heal. But you can also see how diminishing the returns of that heal is the longer the game goes on, because most of the damage you take is, as I mentioned, penetrations, which you can only heal half of. So there's quickly diminishing returns when it comes to the heal impact, but it's still so strong. It's mostly the first heal is the strongest, because it allows you to pick that early fight and just allows you completely out-trade the enemy destroyer. You come back with full health, he's practically half dead, and you've kind of given yourself a significant advantage. In this case, I popped the heal quite early. The reasons for this are multiple. The Fiji might have preemptively torped the gap that he was just looking through. And I want to go through that gap, I want to torp him, I want to spot him, I want to pick a fight with him. And there is a risk I might get a torpedo here. If one of his torps show up and I take it on the nose, for example, because this is, as I mentioned, this is a big, clumsy destroyer. If I take it on the nose with the heal, after having healed, I can survive it. If I haven't used the heal, well, the heal wouldn't have time to tick by the time I see the torpedoes, so I'm preemptively using one of the heals just to recover a lot of the health. I know he's hiding behind his island, I also know that he will cap, and the plan is that once he's capped, he's going to accelerate out of cover, especially if I can manage to dodge him a bit, or bait him a bit by parking in front of him and basically picking a fight. Most Fijis can't resist the DD. If they see the DD, they want to kill him. He camps, so I expect him to start pushing out of cover, because there's no reason for him to really hide anymore. There he comes, and we start shooting. And you see he's accelerating, he's like, oh, what the hell, a DD is here? Oh, we're gonna kill this guy. And at this point, my torpedoes are probably rendering. He's probably spotting them now, but it's too little too late for him to slow down, and he runs right into my torpedo volley. He did a fair bit of health though, and in fact, if I hadn't used my heal, he might have killed me there. I still have one more left. You might have noted though that I am out of speed boosts, and I only have one smoke left. So if you're forced to use a lot of your consumables in this ship, you will quite quickly run out of them, because, well, it doesn't have many. It is very limited on consumables. And in terms of firepower, quite limited as well. Maneuverability, not that special. Torpedo power is pretty okay if you build a full torpedo build. You can get pretty snappy torpedo reload on it. And I've actually found this ship more fun to play as a torpedo boat, because you're kind of hard to get rid of. You push up a flank, you get spotted, you kind of lose a bunch of your health. 1 minute later you're pushing that same flank again and you've used your heal and you're kind of full HP, and they're like, what the hell just happened? Didn't we just chase him away? So yeah, my Richelieu pushes in, which annoys me a bit. He literally charges in through the middle right into a crossfire between all 3 enemy ships and gets himself killed. To be fair though, he just straight up says, yeah, I'm idiot. He doesn't make no argument, no complaint, no anything, so I can't really argue with that. That's someone who realized, whoops, I made a mistake, so that's the end of that. To be fair though, in situations like this, in 3 versus 3s, this is very much still losable. So what I'm trying to do is my Fiji appears to have smoked up behind me, so I'm just gonna go out and spot for him, and I'm gonna try to land some of these torpedoes. 10 km is quite limiting at tier 9, especially when you're facing Soviet radars, especially now with the new patch that's going to buff Soviet radars to 12 km. 10 km torpedoes are going to be fairly limiting. But they are fast, 65 knots, and they do hit pretty damn fast as well. And my prediction looks decent, so I should be able to nail this Bismarck with a few torps. I don't think it's going to be the full 3 torps to get the kill. It's going to be 2. But we do get the flooding. And that puts him quite low. He's also forced to give broadside to the Fiji. Is the Fiji going to be able to finish him? I don't think so. So we're just going to start opening up with some HE and see if we can get a fire on him. Once again, this is with full gunboat build, and you can see, well, this is no Kitakaze, to put it lightly. This is no Kitakaze, but we actually get quite fortunate with RNG, and we do get a fire on him. He pops his heal though, which is pretty annoying. Another thing that they added to make the quality of life on the ship a bit better, which you might note here, is that the turrets are 360 degrees. I get really lucky and I get a second fire on that Bismarck, so thank you RNG gods. But I want to highlight that the fact that the turrets are 360 degrees means that it makes it a lot more comfortable to play. Still though, only having 2 turrets is a downside in multiple ways. The biggest one is probably when you're fighting other destroyers in a 1 versus 1 and they knock out one of your turrets. You knock out a turret on a Gearing, he loses a third of his DPM. You knock out a turret on a Fletcher, he loses a fifth of his DPM. Until it comes back online. You knock out the turret on the Neustrashimy, the ship literally loses half its damage, just from one turret being temporarily knocked out. So the temptation to run your damage con on that single turret is really high at times, and it can put you in some hot water, but it's so frustrating to have it knocked out. Now I'm baiting them at this point when my team is panicking, please don't shoot, please don't take this risk, but I'm more than anything, I'm hoping to make this Massachusetts turn out to use his back gun, and that's exactly what he's doing. You see that? He turned to shoot his back gun, that's why I was shooting, I wanted to bait him into using it, and we eat some damage, but in return we make him turn full broadside into our torps. He gets fairly lucky with the torpedo spread and only eats 2. I needed 3, I think, to kill him. So that's unfortunate. And at this point the health is going a bit too low. So I think we're gonna have to disengage soon. I'm seeing if I can maybe get a fire on him, because he's used his damage con. But there doesn't appear to be any such luck. Once again, the DPM does seem underwhelming. But no such luck getting that fire. And I'm gonna have to keep kiting away, of course. We can't park in the smoke. We can't take the risk of making a full stop on the smoke, because there's a Cleveland pushing undetected, and Cleveland, of course, will radar that smoke, almost guaranteed. If he still has radars left, it's only 2 minutes left in the game, but that's a silly risk to take, considering we are 970 to 670 in the lead at this point. So we're just gonna keep kiting away, wait for the torpedo reload, and see if we can maybe get a final kill in here. Using the ice smoke between me and him to get some shots in. Getting some resets on the camp as well. I'm just kiting away at this point. Oh, we finally get a fire. Will might get spotted here again. But the Cleveland, I think my Fiji has smoked up again. Or you know? Yeah, he's smoked up, but is he in the question is he radared or not? I'm a bit worried here, so I'm trying to draw some attention because I don't know if my Fiji is radared or not, so I'd rather they shoot at me than delete my Fiji, because I'm pretty safe when it comes to avoiding shells at this distance. I mean, yes, you can still get chunked, of course, but the chances are lower. And my Fiji is almost dead. I think they just blind fired him in his smoke, because if it had been a radar, he would be probably dead by now. So they tried to blind fire kill him, so I'd rather draw some attention on me than have him die. And with 4k health left, the game does actually finally end. Got maybe a bit too close towards the end there, but I wanted to make sure the Fiji doesn't get killed, because Massachusetts, all he needed was one good hit, one good pen, and that would have been the end of the match. Game ends. Neustrashimy. I'm running the 2 credits flags on it. I'm running the Zulu and the Wyvern, so that's with 2 credit flags. So just like most tier 9 premium ships, this thing of course absolutely prints out credits like most tier 9 premiums do. 249,000 damage, 3 kills, 7 cap resets, a bunch of spotted ships, and 2 caps. So overall, quite a significant impact on the outcome of the battle. But then again, we have to look at the team score. 3.2k base XP, but I was top XP, so a carry was kind of top XP. I was top tier, so a carry was also to be expected. If you get thrown as a tier 9, into a tier 7 to tier 9 matchmaking type of game, you are expected to have a big impact on the game. In my opinion, if you're top tier in the game and you fail to have a significant impact, then you kind of failed that game, because it kind of puts an expectation on you to do something. The Fiji, of course, did some good work. My spotting probably helped him a fair bit, but that's kind of how it works between smoke cruisers and DDs. DD spots and smoke cruiser does a lot of work, and it looks like he did a lot of work even without my help as well, so props to him. Detailed report wise, and this is one of the reasons why, of course, ultimately I really wanted to switch to that torpedo build. Damage wise, 86k is guns. 86k is guns and 36k is fires, or 34k is 35k is fires, and 127k is torpedoes. And this is running a full gun build. I want to highlight, this is the 3 million gun module. This is running a BFT instead of the Torpedo Reload. This was with a full gunboat type of setup. I tried to make the guns work, but ultimately the torpedoes are simply better. The torpedoes are just a better form of damage. So this game, along with others, helped convince me that going full torpedo build on the ship is just so much more consistent. Some other interesting news or interesting things are, of course, the damage upon your spotting, 40k. Did a lot of spotting. A lot of that damage was especially on the DDs. In fact, looking at the Udaloy up there, I did 24k damage to him myself. Potential damage, 2 million. Now, this is not a cover. This is not a DD that survived because of how agile and fast and nimble it was. No, this is basically a zombie destroyer that survived because it was able to out-heal so much. In fact, damage received 44,400. And I was playing fairly safe with my heals, popping it preemptively against the Fiji, popping it fairly early in the fight against the Massachusetts and the Cleveland, just to make sure they don't get some big sync hit at the same time, both of them hitting me at the same time and deleting me. So this was conservative health usage, conservative heal usage, and I hit 44k. I've hit over 50k healing in this thing quite easily and quite frequently as well. So the survivability on this destroyer is obviously off the charts. It's absolutely insane, and hence, well, the name Neustrashimy is more fitting than ever now, because you truly are fearless when it comes to fighting other destroyers. You do not have an ounce of fear in taking some damage. You can play extremely aggressive, far more aggressive than you can in any other destroyer. It does bring some issues though. I mean, I'd say it's fun. It's actually a lot of fun because, oh, whoops, I got radared, whoops, rocket planes blapped me for 10k. These things that will cripple other destroyers are like, whoops, well, let's just print a new ship with our super heal. It's fun for the player itself. It's fun for the Neustrashimy player. But playing other DDs against this, I can see it being extremely frustrating. Because the 5.6 km concealment means that when you're spotting him, he's also spotting you. And the difference is, if you're playing, let's say, well, a Fletcher, a Yugumo, well, you don't really have any ways of recovering your health. You spot him, he spots you, you trade, you do 10k to him, he does maybe 7k to you, but then his team also piles in and your team piles in, and he leaves the battle with 5k and you leave the battle with 5k health. And then the next time you face, well, he's back up to 20k, but you're still at 5k health. And at that point it starts feeling pretty damn unfair for the other destroyers. And the issue is that the DD has such good concealment combined with such good survivability with the heal that other DDs are going to be extremely frustrated facing it. So absolutely some balance issues. I think the heal is a bit much. I would have preferred the slightly better dispersion, but if they have to go with this heal type of path on this ship, I don't think it can stay this superpowered. It can't be this superpowered. Like, cut it in half. Then it's not a Royal Navy cruiser heal, but it's like half of it. Like, stolen Soviet technology, comrade. We didn't get the original blueprints, but we copied half of it. Like, that's a perfectly good Stellinium explanation right there. Because right now, I think this is a bit too much survivability for a destroyer to have. Especially since, well, what you're fighting the most, what you're looking to fight the most is other DDs. Besides running, of course, torping everything in sight. Anyway, let me show you guys the recommended build that I've ended up with right now. I can show you the gunboat build that I ran, and I will show you the torpedo build that I think is ultimately more useful and more fun and does a lot more damage. Right, as usual, let me start with the modules. Now, consumable wise, as I mentioned, this thing is actually very limited on consumables. So, well, premium damage con probably first and followed by the premium heal, because you want another one of them, and of course you want that faster cooldown on it as well. But if you run the default one without Superintendent, you're only going to have a single heal. And the same thing applies to the speed boost and to the smoke. So premium consumables on all of these is probably the priority. I would go damage con, heal, smoke in that order. Those are the three bread and butters of pretty much any destroyer. Upgrade wise, turret survival. This is and torpedo survival, but honestly, losing one turret on this thing, well, you only have two. You know, one in the front and one in the back. One of them gets knocked out, even briefly, well, that's 50% gone. Engine survival, because you're not the fastest ship. In fact, looking at maneuverability, you can tell 700-meter turning circle is not a fun experience. And the speed is not really winning any awards either. Speed boost, that is with flag, and speed boost does help a bit, but still, you're not going to win any prizes with that speed. The Aaa Module is fantastic. Now, once again, the Aaa is... It's not exactly groundbreakingly amazing. It's only 5 and 4 puffs with running that module. Without it, of course, it would be 2 and 3, so it adds a significant amount to it. But you're no AA ship. But you can defend yourself. You can do some decent damage to carriers if they go for you. Acceleration module, because when you park in smokes or in any sort of way, you want to be able to get out of dodge fast. The rudder shift is good enough that you can get away with running acceleration. Concealment, so you can actually get the jump on DDs, because concealment is one of your great strengths in this ship. Being able to clock in at that very impressive 5.6 sea spotting and 3.0 air spotting. And finally, Torpedo Reload. In the commentary, I ran the main battery for the faster Dakka, but I've switched now to the Torpedo Reload because I think it's more valuable and honestly more effective. Captain perks wise, well, first of all, I want to highlight the fact that I'm running Alexander Ovechkin. And the reason for this is quite simple. When you're given such a super powered heal, you got to remember that the heal scales off percentage of your max health. So obviously, Ovechkin, which has this unique survivability expert that gives you 400 health per tier instead of 350, means that this is an additional 500 health added to the ship. And that of course means that the heals are also respectively more powerful on Ovechkin than on any other. So the Ovechkin shines on Neustrashimy. It's almost tailor-made for it. It's almost like the devs knew what they added 2 and 2 together when they combined this thing. Build-wise though, I would go priority target. Last stand, I would go Superintendent first because this thing is so consumable starved, and then I would go concealment expert. After that, AR, once again, your health pool goes up and down a lot and you can easily gain the benefits and you can bait out the heal and then only use it when you actually need it. And faster Torpedo Reload and survivability expert. In which order, honestly, you get these last two kind of depends on you. If you think your survivability is more than enough, take survivability expert later. Ultimately, I do highly recommend getting it though, because that 4000 extra health does really help the healing as well, and having 24k health on a tier 9 DD is quite impressive. The final one is just preventive maintenance. Out of all the final points that you could put in, this is obviously the best one, once again, because you don't really want your turrets being knocked out, and you don't want your torpedo tubes to be knocked out when you're playing the torpedo build either. All of this combined does allow you to knock your torpedo reload down to 95.6. This is without AR. AR kicking in does reduce it usually well below 90 seconds quite easily. You can even get it something like 85, even less. But the torpedo range is a bit limiting, but the speed is good, and ultimately the damage is almost 18k a pop. So the torpedoes do a lot of good work, and they're actually quite fun to play because you're kind of like a Yugoma that's almost impossible to kill. Not as nimble, but almost impossible to kill, which makes it very fun to play. How much fun it'll be for the opponents? That's X for doubt right there, and that's something that I'm ultimately gonna leave for you guys to decide. Anyway, this was my Neustrashimy commentary. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will talk to you guys later.